10 minutes after 11 o'clock at WBEV. Following is a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed during the program are solely that of Jung's Garden Center, not WBEV or Good Karma Brands. We go to the Daily Dodge TV studio, and joining us now is Justin Wilski.
Thank you, Jeff, and welcome into Taking Care of Business. I am Justin Ninja Wilski, sitting down today doing our Garden Doctor program, but surprise guest today. We don't have the Garden Doctor in. Instead, we have Leah with Jung Garden Center. And Leah, how are you doing today?
I'm very well. How are you?
Doing very, very well. We talked a little bit when you came in. The weather is, it's April.
It is April.
But just because the weather's a little rainy, a little cold, doesn't mean we can't be thinking about getting our yard ready, getting our planting done.
Yep, exactly. And the little bit of rain today we need it. So we'll take it while we can. It's not inches of snow.
Right. Anything but inches of snow.
Could be worse. But yep, still mild temperatures out, and it's tolerable.
It is tolerable. And I do want to remind people you can call in and ask questions, even though Leah's not the garden doctor today. You're filling in. So a guest physician on the show,
yes.
We'll say. But you can give us a call on the show. You can call us at 885-4446 or call or text us at 887-9595. And you'll be happy to try and answer all the questions that we receive. So feel free to give us a call. We are, of course, on video as well, so you can check us out online at dailydodge.com on the video tab, or check us out on YouTube at Daily Dodge TV. And you guys actually have a YouTube channel featuring the Garden Doctor as well.
Correct, yes. Dick does a lot with that.
Yeah, and people can go on and search for Garden Doctor. He said Garden Doctor and a topic.
Yep.
You know, Garden Doctor and potatoes. There's probably a video.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's awesome. Have you had a chance to be in any of the videos yet?
I have not.
Okay, is that a plan? You gonna try and get in there?
They've asked once or twice, but we'll see.
We'll avoid that. Okay. Well, for anybody who doesn't know who you are and hasn't worked with you before, seen you on the show before, give us some background with yourself at Jung's.
So I have been with Jung's for 22 years now. Started in production. Well, I started in the garden center for about 6 months. Moved into production, and then in 2020 I moved back to the garden centers, and then in 2024 moved back to production.
Okay.
So I've been all over. I filled in with for Dick for this program a couple of times too. So we have a background in horticulture.
I was going to say, so if Dick said to you, and you must know a little bit something about plants.
A little bit.
Okay, because so far, nobody has been able to stump him that I've noticed.
Correct. He knows a lot.
Yeah, we were discussing it before the show started, me and a couple of the teammates here, and we're like, people ask questions that we're like, how could anybody know that? And halfway through the question, he's already nodding. He already knows what they're going to say. He's probably heard them all.
I'm sure he has. Yes.
Oh, and again, feel free to people to call in and ask questions if you'd like. I do know that you were given a list of things that we could talk about today on this show.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and dive into a few of those.
One of the topics that he and I first talked about was about spring lawn care. The old folklore is when the forsythias bloom is when it's time to put the first step of lawn care down, first step in fertilizer.
And those are the little flowers.
The little yellow flowers that are blooming right now. Perfect time to get that crabgrass preventer down. And with this rain, it'll help soak it in. And then usually in May, about the time the lilacs bloom, is when we want to do like the weed and feed.
Now, when it comes to like the crabgrass preventer, like there's a window of like efficacy on that. Like if
Correct.
you do it too soon, too late, you may end up completely wasting that.
Because you want to do it before the seeds germinate.
Okay. And those are seeds that were formed last fall
summer.
already.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So sometimes it's weird how some things cycle through like that.
Yep, exactly.
It's a lot to keep attention on. What about if we want to throw some seed out and green up our lawn a little bit or thicken our lawn? Is now too soon, or
no, perfect
can we do
time.
that?
Grass seed does better when it's cooler. If you feel you need to rake your lawn or kind of do like a dethatcher, sometimes it's not necessary. Sometimes it is, depending on your lawn. But spring and fall are perfect times for overseeding a lawn or even starting a new lawn.
Now, for people who don't understand what thatch is,
it's like the dead grass that gets
right.
Builds up over time.
Now, is that something that's just because like people don't rake it and bag it throughout the year?
Yeah, and different compaction throughout the year too. And if you just let it build up over time, the existing grass just kind of suppresses it a little bit. You'll have a much healthier lawn if you dethatch, even just every other year or so.
So I guess that leads into my question that I'm sure is probably debate back and forth. Is it better to bag and compost, or is it better to let it stay on?
I would maybe do like an every other when you mow, or every 3 or 4. Having some grass clippings also helps mulch the lawn a little bit,
Right.
to keep some of those weed seeds down too. And always mow high. Like when you do start mowing
Right.
the lawn, mow on like a 4 or 3.
Not too aggressive to
Right.
start with.
Yep.
I always see people try and get like the golf course lines on
Right.
the lawn.
Yeah.
And I think, boy, maybe a little too fancy for this time of year.
Yep. Yep.
As far as grass for this area, is there a particular grass seed or blend that works really well in Wisconsin?
Just a general mix is good. Ryegrass, fescues. I'm drawing a blank on the other ones, but just a good all-purpose blend is good.
Like the sound of that. Now, while I'm thinking about getting on a lawnmower and mowing lawn, my wife's thinking about our flower beds and telling me that yet again we need to address them and pull out the stuff she doesn't like, put in stuff she does like. And I keep saying it's too soon, it's too soon, it's too soon. Is it too soon?
Yes and no. There are still a lot of beneficial insects that are still trying to wake up. They overwinter in the leaf clutter. But I would say give it a week or 2 and then start. If you've got leaf clutter in an area that, is caught against your fence or something like that, go ahead and start cleaning some of that up. Also a good time to think about mulch too, like refreshing mulch as your perennials start to wake up too. If you do wood chips or whatever it might be, good time to do that too before things get too overgrown.
Okay. Now we've got a plant on the side of our house, and I don't know what it is, but it seems to attract ants. They love this plant. My wife hates it. It's not particularly pretty, but it leaves a lot, has a lot of leaves. And we want to get it out of there. We want to make sure it doesn't come back, because it seems to come back every year. And we've tried just like mowing it over and other stuff. So this year I'm planning on digging it out.
Yes.
If we're going to put more stuff in there, replant, is there anything we should be doing to prep that soil for whatever we put in there to give it the best chance of staying?
So depending on how much actually comes out with your plant, how much soil comes out, make sure you get as much of the root system out as you can.
Right.
Depending what the plant is, some of those some plants will resprout.
Even from those little offshoots?
Yep. Yep. So again, depending on what it is. But just putting in a good soil mix back in, topsoil, compost, anything like that, any kind of amendment that you might need to fill back into that spot.
And I'm assuming then don't try and use like potting soil. Like if you got the stuff that has like the vermiculite and stuff in it.
Right.
Because that's designed for pots,
For
right?
pots, correct. Yep.
Which then leads me into my next question. Potting stuff. And like there's some plants that just seem to do great in a pot. They're great in the house. They're great in a
Yep.
pot. Are they going to do okay if I put them outside and replant them in the soil? Or if it's been in a pot for a year plus, is it better to just leave
It all depends on the plant too.
Okay.
Some in my brain is going to annuals. Some people might have overwintered geraniums. They do okay if they're planted into the ground, but then again, you dig them up at
Right.
the end of the summertime. So it all depends on the plant too. But there are quite a few that could go from a pot into the ground, like if you've overwintered or had something in the house like that.
So let's transition a little bit from the yard and the flower garden, and transition into the actual garden. Is there anything we should be looking at getting planted now?
So the cooler season crops are just about ready. Potatoes, onions, Usually we want to wait until like the nighttime temperatures are consistent with the upper 30s,
Right. Not freezing overnight.
not freezing overnight. The old folklore is planting potatoes on Good Friday, which
Okay.
is next week.
It's coming up, yeah.
So there are a lot of people that will plant their potatoes regardless on Good Friday. But generally, April is a good time for onions, potatoes. Towards the end of the month, we want to look at doing like our cold season crops, our broccoli, cabbages, lettuce, Brussels sprouts, and in that family.
All right. And I mean, I know some people kind of wait until May, June. They start thinking about planting. And by that point, for a lot of it, it's too late to plant it and get a crop out of it.
Not necessarily too late. Depends
Okay.
on what it is. But like the lettuces and spinach and such, they do better with cooler weather.
Right.
So, but like tomatoes and peppers are better with warmer weather.
Right.
So those, if you're end of May, early July or early June, excuse me.
Right.
You know, that's perfect timing for them.
I know my dad starts all of his tomatoes in his greenhouse, and then come August, like it's an overabundance, and
Yes.
he's having to give them away.
Yep.
Just too many.
Yep.
So they like that August weather.
Yep.
Let's talk about what you guys have available right now in the greenhouses there. If people want to swing by and start looking into things, obviously we can get seed potatoes there.
Yep.
We can get onion bulbs and onion
Yep.
sets. But for things like pepper plants or tomato plants or whatever, are those available yet?
Not quite yet.
Okay.
We're hoping the end of the month.
Okay.
1st of May, around that time frame. We should have all of our vegetables available at that time. But right now, we still have a good stock of bare root material, trees and shrubs in our bare root room, asparagus roots, rhubarb crowns. Soon we'll have our rhubarb plants out, horseradish, a lot of the spring bulbs too, which are, or summer bulbs, which are planted now in the spring. The gladiolas, dahlias, begonias, any of those summer blooming bulbs. We have a lot of those available too.
Awesome. Now, I know when it comes to asparagus, like oftentimes when you plant it, it's kind of a give it a year and then you can harvest. Or is it the same with the rhubarb crowns? Do you have to let it get established?
Yeah, usually a year or two for both of them is what you would want to do. Yeah.
I guess my follow-up question to that is, when it comes to those small potted tomato plants, pepper plants, whatever, like, do you guys start those in your greenhouses and move them along the process?
Yep.
And get them
Actually,
there?
we're well into planting those as we speak.
Okay. Is that what goes on in the production area?
Yep. So we've got in production right now. We're just finishing up one of our seedings on our tomato and pepper 4-packs, and today we're starting our cucumbers and squashes. So those will be ready end of April too.
There you go. Big fan of the squashes, actually, in my household. Let's talk a little bit more about the production side of things. 'Cause I think when people think of Jung's Garden Center, they think of the garden center itself. They show up and everything's right there. And it's just kind of it's like the grocery store. The kids go to the grocery store. They have no idea where the food and the vegetables come
Right.
from. Same thing with the garden center. They have no idea where all these things come from. But not all of them are from in-house. You guys do bring in stuff
Correct.
from other places.
Yep. Because
So,
we're
yeah.
limited on space too.
Right.
And so we do have wholesale growers for us. Majority of like the annual 4-packs, the petunia packs, and marigolds and such, they come from a wholesale vendor grown specifically for us.
Right.
It's not that we don't know how to do it, it's just we don't have the space to do that. So we just do what we can in-house, and we're just focusing on what we can do and what we can do well.
How often you guys add new plants, new produce or flowers or whatever to your catalog of items?
It varies. A lot of it just depends on what sells and what doesn't sell. If we have a good seller, we're going to keep it. If there's a new item to the market, then we'll try that as well. And sometimes it might be 2 or 3 years before a breeder releases it too.
Right.
So
Do you guys ever get stuff in and like keep it in house just to try and see how it
Yes.
grows?
Yep.
And it's a
Yep.
little bit of trial testing.
Yep. So we do have a trial garden too. So just some of our seed vendors, for example, might send us some samples for us to try in our garden, and whether that's something that we want to add to our catalog or not.
And there is a lot of real science behind what you guys do in that production room. You know, when you're planting stuff, it's not just you throw some seeds in some dirt and see what happens.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So obviously that takes some time, takes some training. You yourself, you said you have a background in horticulture, right?
Yep.
And so obviously that must mean you like plants. Why horticulture?
When I graduated high school, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do.
Most kids aren't.
Right. I've got one graduating this year that's also, she doesn't really know what she wants to do yet. That's all right. But I was always in the garden with my mom or my grandma. So I just thought, and I had some friends that were taking classes too. And I thought, well, I'm going to tag along with you. So, and then I grew up in Minnesota and met my husband there. And he's actually from Partyville area.
Okay.
So when we moved here, I didn't know Madison at all, and I was terrified to drive in the city and whatnot. But everybody was like, well, go to Jung's. And
There you go.
yeah.
And I mean, phenomenal place over there. Big fan of everything you guys got going on. And an incredibly knowledgeable team over there all around.
Absolutely.
Which is really kind of phenomenal. You guys seem to really love and know what you're doing. And super helpful. Every time I've gone there, and inevitably, like I'll bring the wife, I'll bring the kids. One of them will see a flower, something they really want, they think is great, and we get to ask the question of, can a kid keep this as a potted plant in the room or no?
Right.
Is it something that needs a certain sunlight, whatever? I'm generally looking for any reason to disqualify it as you can't have this in your room because I hate to see them not water it and take care of it. But, you guys have everything from, I've seen succulents, I've seen cactuses, I've seen really beautiful flowers that just look incredibly exotic. It's such a wide variety there.
Yep, it is. And we try to have that, so the diversity for whatever you might come looking for.
That is
Because
really awesome.
I don't have great luck growing succulents, but you might. So we have to appease all of our customers.
I know in our household there's a plant that we were told was unkillable. I don't remember exactly what it is, but we were told it just cannot die. And it was given to my wife in like 3 months, and it was looking horrible. And we handed it off to my middle child, Ember, and now it's thriving and growing and splitting and doing its own thing. And I'm like, all right, maybe don't love it so much. But
Right.
there you go. Maybe considered as a joke question here, but I know a lot of people, and one of them works here, Jeff Hall, great guy, actually producing our show. He's brought the 2 flowers that we have down here in the pit back from being basically dead. He waters them, takes care of them, and plays the music, and it seems to work. Do you guys play music in the greenhouses to help the plants? Or?
Well, we have music going.
More for you guys than the plants?
More for us, yeah. Helps pass the time too. But we like to talk to our plants too.
I guess it's crazy, but when I think about I don't want to say the superstition around plants, but you talk about planting potatoes on Good Friday. It's for a reason. I know people in my family who are, very, very modern people. They love technology, whatever. They still buy the Farmer's Almanac every year and use that to tell them when it's a good time to plant whatever.
Yep.
And there's science behind it, but there's also wisdom behind it, and a lot of knowledge there as well.
Yes, absolutely.
That is really cool. Let's talk about seed treatment a little bit if we can. So I brought this up once with Dick last week, and I got this question again from somebody recently. When you hear about planting in the fields, it's always, this has this seed treatment on it and this seed treatment, and you see the signs and, whatever, and that's for the commercial stuff. And people are like, well, what about what I plant in my garden? That just has nothing. Like, are there things I can get? Are there things I can do to improve the chances of my seed germinating and getting a good crop, whatever? I imagine there are.
Yes. And most of the seed is clean. There are some seed that comes in, one of the corns, for example, I don't know the variety specific, but it is treated with like a fungicide. Might be a little more prone to some fungal diseases, and it's just a preventative. There's no No GMOs in our lot. Think of like Roundup Ready corn. That's a GMO.
Gotcha.
And so we do not have any of that. And most of it is only available as a field product
Right.
anyway. So
That makes sense.
So if you are buying a seed from us and it does have like a pink color to it, or some of them are like a teal green, that is just a fungal treatment. Okay to use that seed, unless unless it's a organic seed, that won't be treated. But yeah, very very few varieties are like that.
Now, I was reading something recently about people who were adding, I guess, like seed food in with the seed, where they were dropping like a pellet of what was almost like a fertilizer or something in with the seed when they were planting it. Is there anything to that, or are they just doing too much?
Actually, I've never heard of that. So
I'm guessing not something you guys do in your production area.
No, we don't.
Do you guys do anything to the potting soil or the planting medium before the seed?
No, there's no seed treatment or no other treatment to it. It's just a seed mix that we use. Our perennial mix, we just add a little bit of fertilizer to that, but nothing to our seeding mix. An inoculant might be used when you're doing like the legumes or your beans and peas and that. That's really the only thing I've heard of.
All right. Well, we do have a
treatment.
call on the line, it looks like. So let's go ahead and go to line one and see what question we got from our caller. Hello, you are on with the Garden Doctor Show.
Good morning. I have a quick question about my shrub roses, or, they're not bush roses, they're just the shrub roses.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a lot of dead wood that I need to cut off. Is it too soon to do it, or is this an okay time?
No.
They're just beginning to bud.
Time right now. It's perfect. You can see
It is.
you can see right where that dead tissue is, where the dead meets the green tissue.
Right.
Yep, cut back as far as you want onto that green tissue.
Okay, great. Well, then I guess I better get busy and get out there and do it.
And then
Thank
you might want to consider using like a rose fertilizer as well.
I'll do that too. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have a great day.
Thank you for your call.
Thanks.
So when trimming the roses, then, kind of like what you're saying there, that there's that spot where you can see it visibly on the stem,
Yep.
right? Where it goes from brown to green.
Yep.
And cut as much of the brown off as possible.
Yes.
If you go into the green a little bit, is that bad, or is that?
No, because you can also kind of maintain your height too. I've got some at home that are like 4 or 5 feet tall, and I like to cut them back in between like the 4 to 3 feet.
There you go. We got a climbing one that's kind of like that we got to rein in a little bit.
Yep.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about soil use. So, and I've heard mixed things on this, and I'd like to get maybe I don't know if I'd say a definitive answer, but a more definitive answer. If I've got, I've planted a bunch of seeds, okay, and got in my greenhouse, and then I transplant to, larger or whatever, and I have potting soil or soil that's left over from that's been used. Can I use that the next year, use that years later, or should I be looking at using clean medium when I'm doing that in the greenhouse?
In a greenhouse, I probably would. I would start clean. It's not to say that you can't reuse. We tend to lose nutrients if we're reusing. You have fungal spores can harbor in used soil too. If you haven't had any disease problems or insect problems with your old soil, I'm not going to say yes or no, because I will reuse soil too, for my outside pots for a year or so, and then I freshen up. But usually with like little seedlings and smaller pots, I would start fresh.
Now let's move that into the house setting. If I've got some plants that I'm maybe thinking about, repotting, should I be trying to get as much of the old soil out when I repot, or should I leave stuff in, or should I worry about refreshing that?
So for houseplants, I would take some of it out. They will benefit greatly from a refresh too. So if you take some of it out, I mean, you could. Some plants will be perfectly fine if you like almost completely bare root them and then start with new soil. Some plants are very finicky and they don't hardly want to be disturbed. So it all depends on the plant type too. If you have questions about it, please reach out to our garden center and they can, give you specifics for your specific plant.
All right. It sounds like we do have a text on the line. Jeff, want to go ahead and read that text to us?
Okay, I've got two of them. I'll give them to you one at a time. Steven says, "Hi, last summer my vegetable garden was loaded with shield beetles. Any ideas?"
That one, I think it's the same beetle that I find in my house right now. I believe, I don't know much about them, but I believe they're ones that overwinter in leaf litter as well. Take a good look in the summertime. You'll probably be able to find where they're nesting, where they're feeding on like your vegetable plants, and try to eliminate them in the summer and fall. But yes, they're overwintering, and they're like the box elder bugs that get into the nooks and crannies of our homes, and then when it's time to wake up, then they're a nuisance.
That makes sense. And for your second one, Jeff?
Brenda would like to know, when do I prune my hydrangeas?
This is always a good topic. Thank you, Brenda. So the Macrophylla types, those are like the large leaves. They are the ones that are like purple and blue and pink. Those we want to wait until we know for sure if they flower on old wood.
Right.
So we want to wait and see now, because there's probably a lot of dieback, especially this year since we didn't have a lot of snow cover.
Right.
We need that snow to insulate those stems from last year. So those we want to wait and kind of like the roses, see where the dead meets the green tissue. Mine at home always dies back. And that one gets cut all the way to the ground. So I lose a lot of flowers on it because of that. The paniculatas, which are like the PGs, the tree forms, those can be pruned now. Get them, you can maintain your height now. Those could also be pruned in the fall. The macrophyllas that I was talking about, those you want to wait until you actually see where the dieback is. So this spring. Yeah, so they're kind of a tricky one, but you got to remember what type you have.
Is there a preferred method for if we know we're not going to get a lot of snow? Of course, we never know if we're going to get a lot of snow. So is there ways that we can kind of ensure to help insulate a little bit better when fall comes?
So you can, like the hydrangea, for example, put some chicken wire around it and then fill it full of leaves to try to help insulate it too. A lot of it is where it's placed too. If we're at northern or western side, you get a lot of those winter winds that also will help with winter kill.
Right.
So trying to mulch a lot in the fall will greatly help some of those.
Perfect. Before we get into any more questions, I do want to remind everybody this is a paid program, and advice and opinions expressed on the program are solely that of Jung Seed and Jung Garden Center, not WBEV or Good Karma brands. Jeff, do we have another text to read?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't take that down.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. I did have a question about the pest control you were talking about with the beetles. I see a lot of people using the beetle bags. Mm-hmm. Is that something that's available at Jung's? And is that something that we should be using, or are we also going to be harming helpful insects?
So the beetle bags that you see are for Japanese beetles. They're the ones that come out usually around July 4th is when we say. They have a pheromone in them. I don't like them myself because it attracts all of the beetles. So I would say kindly ask your neighbor to put them in their yard.
Maybe give them away as gifts.
Yeah. They do work, but they do also attract a lot too. Those Japanese beetles, best method, and it's annoying, but just to go hand pick and drop them in a bucket of soapy water.
As far as other pest control, is there stuff we could be doing now to help with eliminating some of these harmful pests, or is it too soon? You have to wait to see what affects you?
Yeah, some of it is too soon. You just kind of have to wait and see if you know that you have something that's a little more prone to aphids, for example. You want to do that, keep an eye on that and do it when the time is right. Because if they're not there, not everything is a preventative. Right. So you're just wasting your time and your money spraying for something that's not there.
That makes a lot of sense. I know 2 years ago we had, and I don't know if you have an explanation for this, but we had 2 tomato plants, identical breed, everything, and one of them was continuously getting hit by something that was eating the leaves. The other one was not being touched at all. And I felt like one was sacrificing itself so the other one could make tomatoes. Is there a particular reason for that? Is it like, do some of them, it's a male plant, female plant, anything?
Nope. It's just a matter of,
luck of the draw?
Yeah, luck of the draw, kind of. Wow. Yeah.
And I'm going to ask this question because I know a lot of people have issues with, they don't want to put too much stuff on their vegetables, because they don't want to get into it or whatever. For people who are wanting to be more organic with their pest control, does Jung have options for that?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Can you give an example of a few maybe?
One of them is like a neem oil. We have some copper fungicides too. We have again, there are staff can help you. They can specify the product that you need to. We have the organic. We've got the synthetics. We carry the Bonide line, and you can find all of that information online too. And we always stress to read and follow the labeled direction. More isn't always better.
Right.
So depending on what you're spraying, what you're treating, you want to know that you have the right product. But yes, absolutely, we do have some. And anything that's for an organic gardener has to be an OMRI certified. Don't ask me what it is, because I don't remember at the time. But the product has to have that label for a certified organic gardener to use.
That is very good to know. I did want to ask about, because that led me into thinking about regions, because obviously there are some things that grow well in this part of the country. There's some things that, if you're going to put a pineapple tree in your yard, it's probably not going to grow very well.
And pineapples grow on the ground.
That's right. I keep forgetting that. And so are there certain things that people continuously come in and ask for and want to have planted that you guys have to kind of tell them, it's not really going to work here?
Yes. There are some nut trees. People come looking for some nut trees, and a lot of them aren't quite hardy here.
Walnut does well.
Yeah, yes. We do sell lemons and limes in our garden center too, really? But there again, you have to treat it as a tropical. And if you want to, they do fairly well in a home over the winter, but you have to know how, have the right spot for a bright sunny window and know how to take care of it. But then you move it outside in the summertime, and you'll get lemons after a couple years, and so they're kind of fun.
Right. I'm guessing not too many people putting palm trees out with coconuts though.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. What about and my brain is jumping towards the fruits and stuff that do work here well. Apples. Mm-hmm. That's a big one.
Yes.
My wife wants to get an apple tree, and I keep having to remind her that just because we put it in the ground doesn't mean apples right away.
Yes.
And it has a life cycle kind of. It's got a maturity it's got to get to.
Yep.
And that's something that a lot of people don't necessarily understand.
Correct.
Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah. So apples, for example, we have dwarf, semi-dwarf, and standard, and that is the height. Like a dwarf might be 8 to 10, a semi-dwarf might be 8 or 9 to 14, 15, and the standard could be up to 25, 30 feet tall. Dwarfs can flower in like 4 to 5 years, and semi-dwarfs are about 5 to 7. So, and it all depends on the variety.
Right.
So they do take some time to start producing fruit, and that's pretty close to all of the fruit trees as well. Some will bear fruit within 3 to 4 years, but you might not have a large crop until like year 6, maybe.
Right. Now, when it comes to the apple types, I know when I was growing up, my grandfather had a couple of Red Delicious trees, had a Macintosh tree, and that was like, those were the apples.
Yep.
I mean, that was what you had.
Yep.
Those are your options. Nowadays, there's so many different varieties of apples
Yes.
out there. My wife loves the Honeycrisp and the Galas. I know those are
Yep.
really popular now. Do those grow well here? Is that something people can do in this area?
Yes, they both do well. Honeycrisp, they're starting to find that Honeycrisps are a little more temperamental,
Okay.
little harder to take care of. It's better to be on like a spray program with them. They're higher maintenance than some of the older varieties that are out there. It can be done and managed, but you have to put the time and effort into keeping up with a spray schedule
Right.
for that. And a lot of people don't want to get into that, but then you might have a little more insect problems or not the perfect round apples that you're hoping for, or maybe a little spotty apples.
Right.
But that all needs to be managed if you want to have that perfect apple.
Is there a good, and I'm going to put this across the entire garden and all the fruit options out there, but is there a really good, like, lazy person's plant when it comes to the garden? Something where it's like you almost can't screw this up.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I mean, I know, like, in our household, we had for a while the same watermelon plant come up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. We had the same watermelon plant come up like 3 years in a row, even though we only planted it once. I don't know what was going on there. Maybe we left the watermelon there too long and it reseeded itself. But we didn't have to do anything. It was just there and we had watermelons and it was great. But, I didn't know if there was anything that, maybe people like me who don't want to get dirty in the garden that much anymore can plant.
Yeah, again, there's, I think of like some of the perennial, like the asparagus, if it's planted right, I mean, they are heavy feeders, but it's really not a lot of maintenance to that once it's established.
There you go.
Rhubarb too. I mean, other than dividing at, every 5, 6, 7 years. Lazy gardener. Oh, that's
How about, I'm going to throw this one out there because my wife really wants to get one of these. How about raspberries?
raspberries need to be maintained. They're pretty easy, but you need to maintain them every year.
Now, is that just like cutting them back and trimming them, or
Cutting them back, trimming them, thinning them out, removing the dead canes from last year. I actually did some of mine last weekend, and now is a good time to get after that before they get out of hand.
a good set of gloves comes in handy
Yes.
for that?
Yes.
And of course, the gloves you can find right there at Young Garden Center. I know
Absolutely.
that.
Yep.
And also all the pruning supplies, stuff like that. I should mention, you guys aren't just the plants, but a lot of the stuff that takes to maintain, take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have pots and things there as
Yep.
well.
A lot of pottery, a lot of tools that we have, even garden decor. We've got that. Rain gauges, if you need a rain gauge.
Rain gauges are always nice this time of year.
Yeah.
I have to ask, how's your garden gnome selection?
I think there's an okay selection in the
Okay.
store.
I'll have to let the wife know. She's a big fan of the garden
Yeah,
gnomes.
there's some cute ones in there right now.
I like it. We got a few minutes left on the show, so if anybody wants to give us a call or text in again, 885-4446 or 887-9595. We are here with Leah with the Young Garden Center. And Leah, let's take a moment to remind everybody, where you guys' locations are, because you're not just in Randolph. You guys have a lot of locations there.
Correct. So we have in total 6 garden centers. Stevens Point, Sun Prairie, north side of Madison, Fitchburg, Stoughton, and of course Randolph.
There you go. And do you happen to have their hours at hand?
Randolph hours are Monday through Saturday, 8 to 5. I don't have the other store location hours, but I believe they're about the same. 8 to 5, 8 to 6 maybe.
And the Randolph's one's the only one that's closed on Sundays.
Correct, yes.
There you go. And of course, we highly recommend people go check them out. A lot of stuff there, great stuff. Before I continue on, though, looks like we got a text to read on the line. Jeff, go ahead.
Okay, Brenda is back. She'd like to know apples. When do you start spraying, and can you still prune?
Yes. So pruning, you would want, we're like very narrow in on that window. So couple limbs is all you really want to, small things, small pruning you want to do. That apples benefit when the tree is dormant. So think late fall and throughout the winter. But right now we're kind of like right at that cutoff time where we don't want to prune anymore. However, if there's a broken branch, that should be taken care of as well. And as far as spraying goes, there's quite the time period that needs to be very precise for spraying apples. We do carry an apple spray guide in our stores that tells you exactly like when to do it, like when the bud is just starting to form and when it just starts to open, and then after they're done flowering, like when they start dropping their petals, the flower petals is when you want to spray again. And also again, it depends on the product that you are using as well,
Right.
because there is a spray out there that is only recommended for twice a year.
Okay.
So you need to, pay attention to that as well.
So read your labels, people.
Yes, and everyone in our stores can help you and assist you with that as well.
And of course, I'm going to assume you guys have some sprayers there if we want to buy
Yes.
a sprayer to use
Yep.
as well. Never a bad idea to have those. I've actually got 2, one for weed killer and one for all the good
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
Probably a good idea. I wanted to ask a follow-up question here a little bit, because we were talking about pruning or trimming the trees. If we do have to trim in the spring, is there anything we should be doing to prevent any damage to the tree after the trim, or to prevent any loss of, sap or whatever? Like, should we be coating the end or anything?
No, it was always thought that we should like paint, use this pruning sealer
Right.
over a fresh cut. We've kind of gotten away from that. We just like to let the plant heal naturally. However, there are some trees, oaks, for example. If there's damage to an oak tree throughout the summer, that you might want to seal off, because the insect that helps carry the oak wilt disease can find an open wound within a short amount of time, and that's what's killing off our oak trees everywhere. So we want to try to prevent that. So if there's any pruning that needs to be done on an oak tree, that also needs to be done, I always say, in the dead of winter, because that's the best time.
That way the insects don't have
when
time
the
to get to
insects
it.
aren't active. Yep.
That makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. Well, we are hitting the end of the show, and so phone number for Jungs, if anybody has a need to give you a call.
Oh, geez. 920-326-5672.
There you go. And you guys do have a website as well, jungseed.com, Jung Garden Center. You can go check it out there. Your catalog's available online also.
Yeah.
And, Jeff says we do have one final call, so we're going to go ahead and go to the phones and let this guest be our last caller today. Go ahead, caller.
Hello. I was thinking about trimming my dogwoods, and I should have done it last fall and didn't, and I was wondering, is it too late to do them right now?
No, right now is perfect, because you don't have any of the foliage on any of those stems. And you can do it a couple of ways, where you just like shear them off at the top, to maintain height, you can go all the way at the base of the shrub and cut out some of those larger stems in there as well. But right now is perfect time to do that.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to know. I was
Yep.
going to call you, and I heard you on the radio, and I was like, I'm doing it now.
Nice. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Well, that is perfect timing. Well, Leah, I want to thank you for taking the time to come on and see us
Yeah,
today.
thank you for having me.
And we look forward to having you on again in the future if
Yeah,
you take
I'm sure
some
it
time
will.
off. But in the meantime, I want to say that this is a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed on the program were solely that of Jung Garden Center, not necessarily WBEV or Good Karma Brands.